Good afternoon and happy 2020. The first video of the year. It's been a while, sorry. Been on vacation for a little bit. But today we're going to talk to you about communicating with God, or more so of the maturity of how we communicate as we mature with God in our walk. So I believe that there's three different types of communication with God. Of course, it's all through prayer. We have the monologue, then we have the dialogue, and then we go back to, as we mature, to the monologue, and I'll explain that. So we hopefully know what a monologue is. A monologue is a conversation. Like, if I'm going to date myself, Johnny Carson came out at the beginning of the show when he talked to the people, and it was pretty much him talking to the people. And I believe as new Christians, or baby Christians, as we used to call them back in the day, we have a tendency to do a lot of monologue prayer or communication with God, which is us directing everything to God as we want. Lord, help me with this. I want this. Can you show me this? So it's all one-way kind of typing communication. And we don't have, as beginners or new Christians or new believers, we don't have the maturity to understand that we have to wait for a response, and that comes, of course, with our mature walk, our walking with God longer and stuff like that. So it's a pretty difficult kind of thing to get past, and there's no set time. I know Christians, I know believers who have been walking with God for a really long time, and they still communicate in this manner. And then again, there's others who who mature very quickly, and it's just, it's all in God's timing, essentially, what it is. So the next we get to the next level, or the more mature level of communication with God, is the dialogue. And a dialogue is simply just two people communicating. And this is one of, I believe, if you go back to Genesis, this is what God wanted with Adam and Eve. He wanted to have communication with them. He wanted to walk with them and stuff like that. But of course, we separated ourselves from that. And so as we begin to mature in our lives in God, we have to move to that point where we speak with God in our prayer, and then we wait for the answer. And I think that's probably the hardest thing for, not just for Christians, but for anyone to do, any human to do, is to wait for an answer. It's difficult and nerve-wracking, can cause great anxiety, but of course, if it's all in God's will, then all that's going to be for nothing, because God's going to do what He needs to do in your life. So we got to work through that. And then finally, I think as we become more and more mature with God in our way with communication, we go back to the monologue. But it's more of God speaking to us and directing our lives. So the beginning, we're speaking with God, like directing, like arrows up in the air. This is what I need, this is what I want. And then we get to the point where we're communicating back and forth with God. And it's not the kind of weird, like, oh, let me wait. What did you say, God? I've heard people do that. That's just kind of spacey, in my opinion, unfortunately. My opinion doesn't matter for anything. So if you do that, cool for you. I've just never heard it that way. I've always heard it, inside of me, where He moves me to do things. And now I've gotten to the point where, and this is not just me, I've seen many other adults around me who have walked with Christ. They're pretty much led by the Spirit. So the communication is coming down from God. It's coming from God, and that's back to the monologue that I spoke of at the very beginning. We go monologue, dialogue, monologue. And so now we're back to the monologue, where God is speaking to us directly, and our actions are directed by His communication to us. So it's no longer we're having to wait and pray or wait and see and things like that. It's like He is actually directing our lives. And that's the mature Christian. That's the Christian that we want to get to. And if you think about it, that's what Christ had. He had that communication with God where God was telling him what to do. And yes, there are times when Jesus said, Lord, I can't, but your will be done. And that's what it is. It's God's will be done in our lives. So I hope you've been blessed. I hope you've had a great new year these past few weeks. I pray blessings upon your life. My name is William. Have a good day.